Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be speaking on many things involved that you will need to know when you're ready to buy a home. Our program today is totally free to you, but it is going to benefit a local nonprofit organization called Rebuilding Together for Arlington, Fairfax, and Falls Church. The executive director, Patty Klein, will share a little information about the organization with you. Patty, please tell us more.
Hello, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see this? Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for providing me with the opportunity to talk about Rebuilding Together and what we're doing in the community. And I just want to thank those who donated to us for their generosity. So Rebuilding Together provides critical home repairs and modifications at no cost for low-income homeowners, particularly those who are seniors, people with disabilities, and families with children. We also love to help other nonprofits who provide housing for vulnerable populations or food pantries, groups like that. So I'll just go on. So I was talking about Rebuilding Together. And so how we're able to help low-income homeowners and other nonprofits is that we mobilize community members to volunteer their time to complete the repairs to make them safer, healthier places to live. And we really love to focus on aging in place. And we also, when we have the funding, are able to hire contractors. So this is a plug out to any contractors who are there to reach out to us. And we are one of 120 other local nonprofits in the Rebuilding Together affiliate network. And each one of us focuses on a specific geographic location. So we focus on Arlington and Fairfax and Falls Church. In a typical year, a non-COVID year, we typically work with about 1,000 community members who volunteer their time and talents, hire contractors to make the repairs and modifications. And typically we work on about 100 nonprofits and homes. So some of our volunteers do this through their groups, through their faith-based organizations, their corporations, small businesses. A lot of them do it through something called National Rebuilding Day, which is the last Saturday in April every year, or they work throughout the year. And then we have an incredible team of individual skilled volunteers that also work throughout the year to provide these services. So housing is a social determinant of one's health and well-being. So what we do is systematically go into somebody's home to do an assessment, look at it from top to bottom, and we use this checklist of 25 health and safety priorities. And then we determine what we're able to do on each home dependent upon the skill sets that we have, the financial resources, volunteer labor, who we can hire. So we focus on several different areas. One of them is aging in place. Fall prevention is huge. As the population is getting older, we're definitely having more and more issues with fall prevention. So we love to install grab bars, double railings, anything, brighter toilets, raised toilets, brighter lights, raised toilets, anything to make navigation through a home easier. As you guys know, in real estate and all, homes were not built to age in place in this area. The other thing we also do is accessibility. There are a lot of seniors and then other people with disabilities that just can't navigate their home. They can't get in and out of their home easily or go up and down stairs. So we focus on doing ramps and stair lifts. And we just recently installed a wheelchair lift outside a home for somebody who couldn't even leave their home and had to call the police every time they left. We also work on fire safety, dryer duct vents, one of the #1 causes of house fires. You got all that lint and stuff like that. And we do small energy upgrades And then we've focused in typical years on a wide range of other basic needs, flooring, plumbing, gutters, all sorts of stuff like that. So a safe and healthy home has become more essential than ever during the pandemic, and we're now working with small teams of skilled volunteers who are trained in COVID-19 protocols, and we're really focusing on the accessibility modifications. We're helping a lot of people in aging in place, and particularly homeowners who are severely impacted by the pandemic because of their age and limited income. And this is just, Dawn went to this one. It was a great ramp that we did for a lady in a day. So we just kind of wanted to introduce you, make you aware of what Rebuilding Together does. We encourage you, if you want to know anything else about us, you want to become aware, if you know somebody who needs help, or know contractors, reach out to us. This is our information. The information is also on the website that Fraser has for you. And I don't know if now's the time for questions, Dawn, or if we're going to wait till the end.
I think we'll just wait till the end.
Okay. Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks, Patty, for telling us about your wonderful organization. My name is DawnWilson, and I am a local realtor with TTR Sotheby's International Realty. I have worked in real estate since 2005 as a realtor, and I help people buy and sell homes in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Prior to becoming a realtor, I practiced law, and I have helped many first-time homebuyers and move-up buyers, as well as those who have decided to buy a smaller home and downsize over the years. It takes a lot of resources and specialists to make the process go smoothly. I have relationships with many professionals who help in the process, and I've invited them here to speak today for you. The first step in the process for a potential buyer is to consult with a good local lender and to discuss their financing options and to make sure they can get a loan pre-approval. A pre-approval is absolutely necessary in these times to be able to make an offer to purchase a home. I'd like to have Jessica Marlar, who is an experienced local lender with Intercoastal Mortgage, talk about the loan process and things as a home buyer that you should be considering. Jessica?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dawn and Patty. I appreciate it. As Dawn said, my name is Jessica Marlar. I'm a loan officer at Intercoastal Mortgage alongside with Chris Clark. We are a team of about 4 specifically, but we lend nationwide actually, but we are local here primarily in the Virginia, DC, Northern Virginia area. So to speak to what Dawn said, it is so crucial to have a lender's pre-approval, especially a local lender's pre-approval. Reason being is our inventory, right, Dawn, is so low at this time, and it's very, very competitive. So especially as a first-time home buyer, to be able to have a local lender's approval letter, such as ours, to help submit the offers. So the approval letter means that we've checked credit, we've checked income, and that the approval letter, they are approved based on now the going under contract and an appraisal and title work being completed. So why this is super important is because sellers are going to need not just a pre-qualification, which is simply a credit and application check, but that approval will allow you to be more competitive in your offers. And they can see that everything has been checked and they're going to get through underwriting with no problem up front. So we can also close a purchase in up to 21 days. So that is also a really, really big help in getting your offers submitted and accepted. Wanted to chat a little bit too of the difference of a W-2 employee versus a self-employed employee. So very important here, W-2s are generally, we can pull that verification of employment. We can look at 30 days pay stubs in the most recent year's W-2 for the approval. What's very important about our self-employed borrowers is that we need 2 years of tax returns. So especially with COVID and some of the extra guidelines and layers that we have now, thankfully, to help protect ourselves and you guys as the clients and consumers, we'll need 2 years of tax returns to be able to take a look at the income and calculate that for the approval for you guys as well. Okay. Another thing we do with our clients is we discuss what are your payment goals? What is your purchase price goal? You may have a purchase price goal of 500, but that may not match up to where you really want to be comfortably right, in your monthly payment. So we discussed that with the clients as well, so that as they're out shopping with someone like Dawn, then they have an idea, right, of, okay, well, at this purchase price, this equals this payment roughly, right? And this is where I'm comfortable, and this may be where I'm stretching it a little bit. So we'll always give a maximum approval amount so that when you are putting in multiple offers, if you're wanting to offer, over asking price, you know that you are approved for that specific maximum amount. So we accept gift funds as well, which a lot of people I think forget about or lenders don't talk about. So your down payment and cash to close and closing costs, you can receive a gift for those. So if a down payment is something that someone is struggling with, maybe coming up with, those can be gifted to our clients as well for the lending process. We have a really great in-house underwriting team too, which is how we're able to get things done so quickly. And so again, able to get things approved and get done with no problem and closed within 21 days. And I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Jessica. It's really, really important as a home buyer to consult with your lender first to make sure that you can win if there's any competition for a home, and having a good local lender goes a long way. Once my clients have consulted with one or more good lenders and have the knowledge about what types of loans would work for them, what amounts they're comfortable with, both for a sale price and a monthly mortgage payment, then we're ready to have a detailed homebuyer consultation. At the consultation, we will go over the buyer's needs and wants in a home and how to be successful in the process of finding and buying the right home. The consultation also includes reviewing all the paperwork involved in the process, including the contracts and any disclosures that are required. And we also will discuss the entire process from the beginning to completion and go over any questions the buyers may have. And it depends sometimes if my clients are looking in different jurisdictions. The different jurisdictions will have different paperwork. And so it might make the buyer consultation a little more lengthy. So if it's DC, it's Virginia, it's Maryland, it might go a little bit longer. So I'd say typically a full home buyer consultation is about an hour and a half if you're looking in one jurisdiction, and then we probably add about half an hour for each additional jurisdictions to talk about the differences. Once a property is identified, after we go looking at properties and my clients decide that's the home they want to make an offer on that, I'll put the offer together for them. And if the offer is signed by all parties, it becomes a contract. And once we have a contract, I send it to the lender to start their part in the process. And then I also send it to the settlement company, and they'll start their part in the process. There will be contingencies in the contract that will need to be satisfied along the way. And so from the time we go under contract to the time of settlement, typically it's about 30 days, but we can do it sooner, or it might be slightly longer. And during that time period, there may be things going on, such as having a home inspection or other inspections. There could be an appraisal that would be required by the lender, and also a financing contingency. So as that 30-day time ticks by from contract to close, there's going to be all these different people behind the scenes doing things for you to help you get to close. And as the realtor, I'll keep track of all of those contingencies and make sure all the different service providers are doing their part in a timely manner and that the correct paperwork is being signed. And I remind my clients every step of the way what comes next and what they need to do. And so once we have it under contract, typically the next thing that'll happen will be that there'll be a home inspection. And so we're going to have Matt Driftmeyer is going to talk about the home inspection process, what to expect, things you need to know. So Matt, go ahead.
Thank you, Dawn, very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And I appreciate your cause, Dawn, very much. Thanks very much for that. So home inspection is about the physical condition of the home. I'm going to, an inspector is going to look over the home top to bottom, inside out, any cubby hole we can possibly fit into, we're going to get into to find out what's going on. So we're a generalist as we look at the home. Think of a doctor, not a specialist, but a general practitioner that's going to look at every aspect of the home. That comes with certain certifications. Now, Virginia, DC, and Maryland all have require certifications, and that can be had through ASHI, A-S-H-I, or NACHI, N-A-C-H-I. Look for, when you work with an inspector that may not be mine, a little logo that goes with that just proves that, yes, this person is affiliated with a recognized association and they have their certifications. And you can ask to see this. If they're not wearing it, I forget it sometimes, you can ask for that. There's nothing wrong with that. If we're looking at a brand new home, there's a special certification for that, new residential construction. They're very specific about that. We have to have that as well. So that's important that we be qualified in those aspects. All of us are required to have a contract that we bring that you will sign. And all this fine print talks about how I'm not psychic and I can't see through walls, although I have some equipment that helps me do that sort of thing. So that can be helpful too. But expect to see and sign and receive just such contract in the process. We are all held to a standards of practice. Now, this is a minimum that we're required to do. I certainly exceed that by long shot. Most of us do. But you can find that on the ashi.com website and print it off for yourself and see what that entails. It's quite extensive. It really is. We're also required to carry liability insurance. Most of us carry errors and omissions insurance. In case we make a mistake, we're human, we do our best, but we carry that type of liability for that sort of thing. You're probably wondering about fees. They are not fixed among us. We can charge whatever we see fit. Most of us are within 20-30% of each other. Ask about the fee. Mine is based on square footage and the age of the home. Obviously, a 100-year-old home is a little more complicated than a 3-year-old home, and then harder to inspect. I do know for a fact that some inspectors charge extra to get into a crawl space, and they might charge extra to get into an attic. I do not, but some do. So you might ask, if you're talking to another inspector, are there additional fees to get into these very important places? Because that's where we find that's general neglect. When they're flipping a house, they don't make the crawl space pretty. So that's where we need to go. And I do believe that, Dawn, correct me if I'm wrong, but the void only and the information only inspections are happening. I'm doing a lot of those, but I'm still finding plenty that you want to know about.
Matt can do a regular home inspection, which would be a home inspection. And then in the contract, if it's sort of a typical home inspection, it would give the buyer and the seller opportunity to negotiate repairs or credits. But when it's very competitive in the market and the inventory is low, we have a seller's market. Sellers really want what's best, obviously, for them. And so buyers, to be more competitive, they may be doing void-only home inspections, where you'd have the inspector come in, but then you're telling the seller up front, I'm not going to ask you to fix a lot of little things, but if I want to back out of the contract and void it, I'll have that option. And another way to be competitive is to do something called a pre-inspection. And Matt has done those for me as well, where a buyer will go in and you do the inspection first before you've made the offer. This way you can make a clean offer, not contingent on a home inspection, but you already know everything you need to know about the house. And then you decide if you want to go ahead and make an offer. And so that also would be very attractive to a seller. And Matt can do any type of those. I mean, basically it's the same inspection from his perspective. That's the way we deal with it in the contract.
Yeah, and I find them very worthwhile to do, and a lot of people are very pleased that they've done it. So I look forward to that. So as far as me personally, when I inspect, what I bring to the table is a level of fitness and ability to get into these places. I practice certain exercises so that I can get into and out of crawl spaces. I go into very small and very scary little places and very hot attics. And that's usually where I find the critical information that you need to know. And I take pictures while I'm in there, so there's no denying what I found. pretty important stuff. I have 10 years of experience. I've probably done 3,000 of these things. I won't say I've seen it all, but there's a lot to see, and I learn something constantly. If I don't know it right then and there, I will look it up while I'm writing your report, which you will have later that same day. That's just something that I do that's important. I think that helps Dawn with her timing too, so you can get things handled quickly. I always invite my clients to follow me, ask questions as we go. There's no silly questions. Anything goes. We'll figure it out as we go. And I take great pride in what I do. I take it very seriously. We can have some fun at the same time, but I take great pleasure in what I do, and I usually save people a lot more than my fee. So I'm happy to say that. So I thank you very much. Dawn, I'll throw it back to you.
So I'll just chime in here. So another thing that Matt can do, if it's required under the contract that we've signed, is help get a radon test done. So you could talk to your realtor about that. I go over it very carefully in my buyer consultation. But if a radon test is something that you want done, then what happens is the inspector will place that test, and then 48 hours come back and pick it up, and then will give me the results. And if radon is high in the home, it can be remediated, but that's just the way we learn about it. And another inspection that many clients get would be a wood destroying insect report. And that would be for termites or other wood destroying insects. And typically Matt wouldn't do that, or generally the general home inspectors don't do it, but there are specific pest companies that we can get out there and do that report for you. Thank you very much, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
So also one thing that my clients have to think about when they're going to buy a home is they're going to need home insurance. And the lender will require that as well. So as soon as we get a contract, I want to tell my client to speak to a good home insurance company and find out what kind of insurance they need and how much it will be. The type of insurance you might need for a condo might be totally different than what you would need for a home. And also they need to think about if they're going to need flood insurance. So by the time we go see the home and write the contract, we would know if that's a home that flood insurance will be required on. And so Max Olson is a very experienced local insurance agent. He's been doing it for many, many years. And he will speak about his part in that process and how to help you find the right insurance and make sure that you're insured properly and that your lender is happy. Max?
So on my end, I help people with the insurance, specifically home insurance and flood insurance side. Not all policies are created equal. Home policies in general start off with a ton of exclusions to say we'll cover some things, but there's lots of stuff that we won't cover. So when you go through and then have the insurance policy set up, you want to make sure it has the right endorsements to cover the items you want to have covered. One of those important things is the dwelling coverage. That's basically the house burns down or has some type of large claim, how much coverage they would go through and give to rebuild that structure. And you want to make sure that's right. If you over-insure it, you're paying for something you don't need. If you under-insure it, you could be out $100,000+ in case there was a total loss. So going through and then working with the right professional, they can go through and help you to make sure that you get that coverage amount right. Also in the policy, the personal property coverage is coverage for your belongings, liability coverage in case somebody trips and falls and sues you. And there's a lot of options on the policies that are very important. That if you don't see them on your quote or your policy, it's quite often that you just don't have that coverage. Things like water backup in case if the sewer line were to back up or a sump pump were to overflow, or ordinance or law in case you had a home built in 1920 but you need to rebuild it to code of 2021. The ways to go through and then save on home insurance, one is going through and then making sure you're getting the right coverages in the first place so you're not over purchasing things that are unnecessary. Going through, if you have alarm systems, you generally get discounts for that. If you package your home with a car insurance company, oftentimes that could be 20 to 40% savings. And if you've done any recent renovations, like new roof, new HVAC, new electrical, new plumbing, that can go through and give a fair amount of discounts as well. And as far as how you purchase home insurance, although I'd like to say I'm the only way you can, it's not accurate. There's different ways that you can get it. You can go to a captive agent like a State Farm or an Allstate. They'll basically tell you everything you'd ever want to know about that company. But they won't tell you anything about any other company because they can't. Or you could go online or to a direct carrier like a USAA or a Geico. And if you go there, then generally it's going to be quick, but you won't get a lot of information about what you're getting. The last option is basically going through and then using an independent agent or agency. That's what we represent. So that's where basically you give us information, we shop a ton of carriers for you, we come back to you and then let you know this is the best carrier for you for the coverage and price you're looking for. And that is all I've got.
Thank you, Max. I really appreciate it. So once everything that's been required by the contract to be done has been done and the settlement date arrives, the buyer will go to settlement and sign the paperwork necessary to become the owner of the property. And then at that point, after all the paperwork's been signed, the buyer will get their keys and they will be a new homeowner. But leading up to that point, there's going to be a settlement company involved. And Tyler Jensen of Double Eagle Title will talk about what the settlement company does, what title insurance is, if you need to order a survey, what kind of survey to order, and then what will happen at the settlement table and what happens afterward as far as the recording process. And also, so not surprisingly, in COVID times, we've seen some changes in how things are being done. And in the past, it wasn't unusual for everybody to show up at the settlement company, the buyer, the seller, the agents, even the loan officers. And really, no settlement company I know is doing that anymore. They're trying to limit exposure to people and keep a minimum amount of people coming in. So Tyler can also talk about their COVID procedures and what might have changed over the past year. Tyler?
Thank you, Dawn. Hi there, I'm Tyler Jensen with Double Eagle Title. I'm a settlement agent, and I'll tell you a little bit about our role in the settlement process. We act as what I like to call like a referee between all the parties. So we make sure that everyone has delivered and received what they're supposed to according to the contract and according to applicable laws and local regulations. So as Dawn said, before you even get to the settlement table, we've already been hard at work. Part of our job as the title company is to research what's called the chain of title, which is the previous ownership of that property, and to find any potential issues that might need to be resolved before settlement. So an attorney is going to review that title search to make sure the title is clear, which is another part of our responsibility because we're going to get that title insured. And that I'll tell you a little bit about title insurance. It's not like homeowners insurance. It's a one-time payment thing at closing. And title insurance protects you from financial loss and potential legal expenses should a defect appear on your title. And when I say a defect, in layman's terms, that means an issue. It can be anything from a forged document in the past chain of title to an unknown heir of a past owner coming out of the woodwork and challenging your ownership. Or it could be as simple as a neighbor disputing your shared driveway rights, something like that. When you take out a mortgage, the lender is going to require title insurance to protect their interest in the title. And as a buyer, you have the option of getting your own title insurance to protect your interest in the title against all those kinds of defects. And like I said, unlike other forms of insurance, you pay it once at settlement and it protects you for as long as you own the property or even longer, depending on which policy you get. I could go on and on about title insurance all day, but I won't. We'll talk to you all about your options and how that works. It's pennies on the dollar, and it's really a great investment for home buyers. Back to the process of settlement. So our attorney is going to review the title search, and we've cleared any title problems. We work with Dawn to make sure, and the realtor and the lender to make sure we're doing that. And what we issue is called a title commitment to the lender. And that's going to address all the requirements that are needed at closing. And behind the scenes, we're going to handle communications with all the parties involved and make sure that we're gathering the items that are in the contract. So the termite inspection, if there's a termite inspection, any invoices that we need to pay. Our job is to also order payoffs. So on behalf of a seller, we're going to pay their current mortgage and release their mortgage from the property records so that we can make room for yours. And we also order things like a survey, and you may want a location survey, you may want something deeper. It really depends on the type of property. If you have a condo, it's not going to be a big deal. A survey on a condo would be obscenely expensive. I've never done one of those before, but it's not necessary. Potentially on townhomes, it's something that you will want to discuss potentially with our attorney and with Dawn or your realtor to talk about whether or not you need or want a survey. Our job is also to order things like tax information so we can prorate the taxes appropriately. We order HOA and condo dues. We order a myriad of other items that have to do with the settlement and to make sure that all the boxes are ticked. So once we've collected all of this information and all of the documents, we circulate them to the lender, and then the lender has received our stuff and they receive your stuff as the buyer. So then the lender is going to issue us the closing instructions. They're going to tell us what we need to do to facilitate the signing of the mortgage and the deed of trust. We handle the deed and the deed preparation. Both of those items are going to go on record in the land records. That takes about 48 hours after closing. You're going to get at closing, or even before closing, what you're going to get is a closing disclosure or a settlement statement. And you'll go over that in detail with your realtor and probably your lender, and make sure that all the costs are looking right. At the settlement table, I'm going to go over that with you and make sure that the costs are the same as they were the last time we looked at them. We're going to talk about your cash to close, if there is any money due at the table. We'll tell you wire instructions, all about how to prevent wire fraud. That's a big thing in our industry. We want to make sure that you're safe and your money is safe. And we're going to generally get this packet of materials ready that will legally transfer ownership from the seller to the buyer. Within 48 hours of closing legally, we are going to record those documents, like I said, and disperse any monies. So we'll pay off the prior mortgage. We will pay off any credit cards you may be paying off with your loan, if that's the type of loan you're getting. And we're going to record the deed in the land records. You can expect to get copies of those documents within about a week. We do digital copies nowadays. As Dawn said, things have changed. So we're not really doing physical copies of documents. We're trying to limit contact and exposure. But we send you a secure link with all of your documentation, and then your physical deed will come in the mail along with your owner's title policy if you get an owner's title policy. That'll take a few weeks after settlement. But you'll get your keys at the table, or they may even be waiting for you in your house, and the realtor may have a lockbox. That's one of the things we're seeing today with COVID as well, just not handing over keys necessarily at the table. But we facilitate making sure that everyone is on board with when ownership is going to happen if the settlement hasn't been funded. Let's see, what else can I tell you about? Dawn made some really great points. By the time that you're done with settlement, you're going to be all squared away with all the paperwork because you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on it. And someone like a Dawn can help you get to that finish line with a lot of ease and hopefully making it smooth. In the times of COVID, unfortunately, we can't do closings over Zoom. It's not that easy. We still, most lenders, almost all lenders, require a wet signature. So you're going to have to sign in front of a notary public. I am a notary. A closing agent is also a notary public. So you have to show up, unfortunately. Sometimes we can send a notary to your house, or I can come visit your house. But you will have to appear in front of someone to sign your documents. We may see changes on that in the next couple of years, but it's not likely. That's about all that I've got. Thanks for letting me be a part of this, this great webinar.
Thanks, Tyler. I really appreciate it. And so if you're a new home buyer and you're watching this, perhaps you've gathered that there seems to be a lot of moving parts and things that will happen, but having a great group of people behind you really helps it go more smoothly. And perhaps if you are a move-up buyer, you've been through the process, but things change all of the time. And so twice a year, we have new contracts, new paperwork that comes out from NVAR, which is the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors, as well as the group for DC and Maryland. And so there are constant changes. So even if you bought before, things may be a little different now. So it's good to have a good team behind you. Um, and, and despite all the paperwork that's involved, there's other things that you'll need to do with regard to your move. Obviously, you're going to be setting up a moving company. You're going to have to figure out how to get all your stuff from one place to your new home. And as part of that process, other things that need to get done are you need to set up your utilities, you need to set up your cable, and there could be other things involved depending on the type of home that you're buying that you might need to do. Or you may have already contemplated that you're going to start doing some contracting work or constructing work on the property. Perhaps you're going to update some bathrooms or update the kitchen or do some nice landscaping, put in a fire pit, which is very popular now during COVID. And so I want to introduce you to Rebecca Rouet, who is a personal assistant. And she pretty much does anything or any one of those tasks that you either don't want to do or don't have time for. And so she's been invaluable to my clients, particularly in their moving process, although sometimes they're not moving, but they just need help with some of those things anyway. And so Rebecca's going to talk about how she's helped people with their moves and how she can make your life easier. Rebecca?
Thanks, Dawn. Thanks for the great introduction. Yes, so I help people move all the time because moving is, my job is to make your life easier, and moving is the second most stressful thing you can deal with. And there's so many moving pieces and so many things that you don't even think about when you're making your to-do list that it's, you can show me that to-do list and then I can also plug in, oh, did you remember this? Did you remember that? And I can take those things off the list for you and get them done. I wanted to mention two things that I worked on. I helped some senior clients of mine, 80 and 78, move this year. They called me one day and said they were moving, and from Arlington to Alexandria. Weren't looking, something came up, they decided to go for it. From a big home in Arlington to a smaller townhome. So they were right sizing for their ages. I don't remember if it was a mortgage or the title company sending out, there's the online platforms now where you can upload everything. Well, they're 78 and 80 and they're not as well versed in uploading and scanning and whatever as I may be, or I am. So, that was another way that they looked at the instructions and had no idea what to do. So I was able to take the pictures and scan things and upload them so that all the people involved, the realtor, the mortgage company, and the title agency had all those documents available to them. I know the mortgage the mortgage company was Intercoastal, by the way, Jessica. And so I did everything from soup to nuts. I helped them downsize, decide what they were going to bring, what they didn't need. I organized for them to have an auction house come and take everything else away that went to auction so they could make pretty much a big chunk of the money back that they spent on me by selling their things that they weren't going to take with them and donating the rest. And some of it, unfortunately is junk, but having junk removal come and do that kind of thing. So all those moving pieces and people, especially in the time of COVID, that they don't want to be face-to-face with because they're, as I said, 78 and 80 and in a super high risk age group during COVID. And so then we get in the new house and they thought, this is going to be great. We're going to have so much less to think about. Well, there's mold, there's leaks in the dormers, there's a leak in the humidifier that shouldn't really actually be in the HVAC, but is. There's a new sink that needs to be installed. They inherited, gas fireplaces don't work, just a ton of stuff that, I'm not going to call it a money pit because it's a great place. Oh, elevator didn't work, but all of a sudden, all the contractors, they have nowhere else to go, but all the contractors need to be coming in. They don't know who to call. They've never had an elevator in their home before. So I do the research for them and I make the calls and I get the estimates and I am there forward facing with the contractors so that they can make sure that they leave the house during that time or go in another room and shut the doors just so that they feel a little bit safer, not from the person, but from the COVID. And so everything from, as I said, like $11,000 roofing issue to the, $200 leak in the humidifier I'm taking care of all of that for them. And it's been extremely stressful for them because they thought they were doing the right thing, and they probably did, but they didn't want the land, and they didn't want to have to maintain all these other things that, you know, you're kind of tired of doing when you're older. So I'm taking care of them in the new house. And I wanted to also mention that they just went with their current insurance agency and just gave them the new address. Well, they didn't ask for pretty much anything except the new address. And we kind of, that like flagged for me. So I said, I'd love you to talk to, and I told them to talk to Olson Insurance Agency. And they ended up switching over but the difficult part was for them was we need the condo papers. We need all the condo documents so that we know what the condo is covering insurance-wise compared to what you need, which the other insurance agency did not ask. So they didn't know where to go to get them. So I knew how to log in online to their townhome condo association, essentially, whatever, it's HOA, and grab all those things and then upload them to the insurance agency. And they just, again, just things that that would have taken them hours to do, took me 15 minutes to do. So you can save time as well as money because they got a better deal with Olson Insurance Agency, and thanks, Max. And and they didn't have to do it themselves, which was highly stressful for them. But that being said, those are my senior clients. I've got plenty of those, but there's also the ones that are, you know, as right sizing upwards to get a bigger house. But usually that's because there's probably more people in their homes, which mean kids, which means a lot more moving parts and play dates or sports or whatever, or even just having to deal with your kids in the home because of COVID and not having the time to do it. So no matter what point in your life you're in, you can offload your tasks to me or someone like me so that you're not adding stress to your life, but in fact buying time by using that. So Dawn, am I missing anything?
I just know that, I'm sorry to hear about all that stuff that your clients went through, but at least you were there to help them. I know that for my clients, you've done some things like set up their utilities for them and, wait if somebody had to come to the house to deal with that. And that's been really helpful.
Well, and also one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of that stuff can be done online very quickly. And so since COVID, I've been able to do that stuff from my home online and making calls and sometimes conference calling in to make sure if they have to say, yes, it's okay to talk to Rebecca Rouet about this account or whatever and give me the temporary or permanent permission. But I've done a lot of that for people, including Dawn and I had a client that moved to California somewhat suddenly, like it's a decision and the house sold and boom, she's gone. And even I'm receiving the checks that she got from her auction stuff and going to the bank and depositing for them for her, even to this day. So she made way more than it cost to have me, by the way, by doing that. But yeah, canceling everything and then, and completely canceling or transferring over, a lot can be done online or with a quick 3-way phone call so that we can do it remotely as well and still, be as safe as we can be during these super fun times. But I think I'm sure I've done more, but I can't think of it.
Pretty much, Rebecca can do anything you need if you don't have the time or if it's something you really don't want to do. And she often has some great ideas or things maybe you haven't thought about because she's in contact with so many different service providers. She's probably seen all the different types of things that could happen and can give you some advice as to who to call or what to do. But, well, thank you all the speakers for today. I really appreciate your time and sharing your expertise with everyone. And I want to thank everybody who's watching this video today. Thank you for joining us. And please reach out to us for more information if you have any questions in the future. If you would like a full home buyer consultation, you could reach out to me at dwilson@ttrSIR.com. And my number is 703-217-4959. And the full consultation would be a lot more tailored to your needs and still provide you of more detailed information than even what we went over today. And I want to thank all the speakers as well for making donations to Rebuilding Together, which is a great organization. It is a national organization, but Patty is the CEO of the local chapter that helps Arlington, Fairfax, and Falls Church. And there is a great need, and thank you for raising awareness about that nonprofit. And if any of the attendees, people who are watching this video, are interested in finding out more about either volunteering or donating to Rebuilding Together, please reach out to Patty Klein or go to their website online and you could find out more information. Thank you again, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And Fraser, if you have any questions for any of us, please let us know.
Yes, I do have some questions. Thanks so much. Let's see here. One question is for Patty with Rebuilding Together. If somebody knows somebody who needs help, how can they apply and get connected?
Oh, great question. So it's pretty easy. The first step is to either go to our website at rebuildingtogether-aff.org or call us at 703-528-1999 for an application. They simply fill it out. It's got some very standard questions: who lives in the house? We are income qualified, so people do have to furnish us with documentation on the total gross household income. And then once we get the application, we'll also verify that the people who are applying own the home. We'll come out, set up a time with the person, come out, look at the house and see what is needed. And depending upon what it is, if it's a good match, during COVID or non-COVID times, we'll put them on a wait list. And if we are able to help, all the repairs are done at no cost.
Thanks, Patty. This is a question maybe for Dawn or for Jessica. This is about, is there a way for a buyer to make themselves more competitive in this sort of seller's market if there are multiple offers?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So one thing that I mentioned earlier in our webinar is the way you deal with a home inspection. And so oftentimes you could be more competitive as a home buyer if you do the pre-inspection. And then pretty much at every contingency or every part of the contract that you will be putting in your offer, there's something you can do at every step that can help you be more competitive. And so it really is sort of dependent on each buyer's financial situation and what they can do, or their situation about timing. But in my full buyer consultation, I will go through that with you and show you at each step of the way how you can be more competitive. And then it's up to you to decide if you would like to take that step or not. And so if you're looking for a home and want to have a discussion in depth, please reach out to me. But just know the pre-inspection is definitely one way to do it. And another way to do it too is to have a quicker closing. And so, as I said before, a lot of lenders will, be able to do it in about 30 days. But there are lenders that can do it quicker. And that's sort of made the difference for some of my clients, being able to close in about 16 days, which is really good, has made them more competitive. And so, reach out to me and I could explain how you can be competitive in different areas in the contract. Thanks.
So this is another question about maybe for the lender. In terms of down payment, what's the least that somebody could put down on a loan to buy a home?
That is a great question. So we offer all loan programs, so conventional as well as USDA, as well as government loans such as FHA and VA. So VA loans can only be used on qualified veterans or also active duty service members. The VA loan requires zero down unless it is a second, third, or fourth home that they're purchasing with their VA loan, but generally zero down. USDA, depending on the area, which is also where I would lean on Dawn to help, is if the property is in a USDA area and the borrower qualifies for the program, USDA also offers zero down. The minimum down payment for a conventional loan is 3% down. And so there is that option, as well as an FHA loan, which is government backed, and their minimum down payment is 3.5% down. and we offer all of those programs.
Super. And another question submitted was, you talked about a pre-approval letter or an approval letter. How long is an approval good for?
Also a great question. So your credit report, from the date pulled by the lender, your credit report is good for 120 days through closing. So it has to be through that closing date that it's good for 120 days. Your approval, generally when we're for that approval, we're asking for 30 days of most recent bank fee stubs. Sometimes bank statements, but as long as they're up to date, the 30 days because they're up to date, then that is how long your approval is good for. So if we need an update, if it's taking a little bit of time to find a home, we just ask for updated pay stubs, and then your approval letter is still good to go.
Thank you. This is a question from Max. Is there anything that where you've looked at somebody's home insurance policy and the way that their policy is set up didn't make sense or was not, in your opinion, best for the owner, and you were able to provide them with better coverage?
Every day. So I've seen people that had their insurance policies in their name, but they actually own the homes in trusts or LLCs, effectively giving them no coverage. I've seen people that had no water backup coverage, no ordinance or law coverage, had their home underinsured by several $100,000. I've seen homes that have been listed as primary residence, even though it was actually builder's risk or vacant, effectively giving them no coverage. So there's lots of different scenarios that it can be done wrong. And you never really find out about it until you have a claim.
All right, thank you. And the last question that I have is for Tyler. How long is an actual closing? How long are people working to do the closing?
Good question. If you are familiar with, if you've done it before, it may take you as long as short as 15, 20 minutes. If you're a first-time home buyer, you probably want to understand the documents a little bit more, and that's the job of the settlement agent. So it could take anywhere from a half an hour to an hour if you have a lot of questions or if you need some more in-depth explanations. In the past, as Dawn mentioned, you would have your agent with you, you'd have your loan officer, and it would take maybe an hour to 90 minutes because it would be a little more celebratory, but now we are limiting the folks in the office. So it's sort of get in there, sign your name 50, 70 times and get on out.
Got it. Thank you so much. That's all I have, Dawn.